all cultures from the beginning of human history have had the idea of reincarnation. That is, that human beings had a previous lifetime that affect this lifetime. This is a belief system that goes back to the early Aboriginal tribes. The oldest traditions are from Africa, where you have this concept of people being reborn into the next generation, from grandfather to granddaughter, from grandmother to grandson. It is also a tradition that goes back in ancient history in India. That concept has been here for 5,000 to 6,000 years or more. It is a part of all religious traditions. For example, early Christianity had a belief in reincarnation based on the beliefs that the Hebrew people had in reincarnation. In the Bible itself, there's discussion of John the Baptist being the reincarnation of the prophet Elijah. So this concept of past lives being passed on to present lives is a long tradition. We don't know exactly what it means and how it works because there are many different beliefs about it. Most people have sort of a spiritual, ethereal concept of reincarnation. But in my research, in the Reincarnation Experiment that we're conducting in the United States and in other countries, is to look at the empirical scientific evidence that might have led ancient peoples to believe in the concept of reincarnation. It was not a concept that was invented. It was something based on evidence that they saw in their own lives. That's the most important question I think we can ask about the concept of reincarnation, and that we are asking it today in a scientific way that has never been asked before. Most people who believe in reincarnation think it is just something, as I have said before, ethereal or spiritual, where there's some connection with a previous lifetime, but it doesn't mean anything in this lifetime. But the evidence that we've accumulated over many years of research now is that if reincarnation is real, then it affects our real lives in very specific ways. One of those ways is in our physical features, in our facial structure, in our body type, in certain particular markings on our body, birthmarks and deformities in many cases, are scars. So there are physical implications of reincarnation. We are now beginning to try to develop a protocol for testing the DNA. Now, obviously this is a problem because most people who died in the past and are reincarnated today, we don't have DNA for them. But we are trying to establish the protocol today to calculate what are the DNA sequences, what are the locations in our genome that get passed from life to life that we can measure. So that's one very important area. And in my lecture, I show photographs of people who are living today, and also the portraits or sculptures or pictures of their previous lives, and you can see the correspondence. It is dramatic. It is almost as close for the very strong cases as the biometrics that's used in security cameras today when we're looking for a terrorist. You know, we match the picture with the person and say, is that the same person? We can look at reincarnation cases and see just about the same degree of correspondence. So the physical impact is one, very important. And that includes predispositions for sports, for certain kinds of abilities, musical, artistic. That is part of this impact. There are other areas, what I call this personality or psychological areas, because as a psychologist, I've been most interested in the psychological impact of reincarnation. But we found that there are effects in the way we think, the way our mind works, whether we are analytical or intuitive, whether we think in the big picture or we're focused on the details. Those are differences that we have as individuals, and we find in the past lives that they correspond with the present life. So that's the thinking, the intellectual level of similarity between the past and the present. Another is what we call the ego type, which means our emotional profile. Are we happy, optimistic? Are we pessimistic? And so on. We have those characteristics in our personality, and the evidence suggests that we have a legacy from a previous lifetime that it doesn't shape you, it doesn't determine exactly, but it is a predisposition. It is a legacy that you start with as a child. Another area is in our interpersonal relationships. For example, are you an extrovert, sociable? Or are you a hermit who stays at home and you're shy and don't mix well with people? Those are extremes. But all of us have some profile like that. And what we see is in the past life, that same pattern in the present life. That's the third psychological. The fourth is, what are we really interested in terms of our creative energy? If we have time, if we can choose a profession that we most feel comfortable with, the research we've done indicates that you come from the previous life with that inclination this time, as a pianist, as a musician, as a painter, as a sports person, as a physician, as a priest, as a nurse, as a farmer. All of these things, as a sailor, whatever your particular area of interest is, at a very young age, that is likely to be what your past life developed. So you have the physical and the psychological. So those are the implications for our present life.